welcome to the 9th episode of Tia Talks. We will be your three hosts for the day.
Hello, I'm Omema.
Hi, my name is Imaan.
And my name is Lina.
So, considering our topic today, which is role models, there's actually something that I'd want to ask you guys. Well, something that'd be a good starting. So, what do you guys think a role model actually is?
It's a very good question. Imaan, answer it, please.
Okay, so, I mean, personally, I think, for me anyway, I think when I look for a role model, it's someone who's kind of confident and who stands up for what they believe. But I think it's kind of different for everyone depending on who they are and what kind of things they like. But what about you, Lina?
I think for me, that's actually quite an interesting question. Personally, I'd say, what do I view as a role model? I think it's someone who would be very confident in the sense so they're able to voice their opinion, but it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be someone who's always kind of preaching and such, not like that, but just someone who's confident, someone who's hardworking, respectful, and generally more optimistic, because I think it's really important to have people that have a more positive outlook on life in general in order to kind of get that positive influence for yourself.
And get somewhere in life.
What about you, Megan? What's your role model?
I don't know. I feel like it's applicable. It depends on the situation, depends on the person or kind of where they are. But I feel like I think that what a role model is to people, I think is normally someone that kind of looks like they know what they're doing, even though they might not, but they just look like they know what they're doing.
Basically.
At least I look like it once. Okay, I'll take it.
I think another thing about role models is they're not always people that you kind of define a certain standard for them to fit, isn't it? Because it can be quite subconscious too. Like, I think a lot of the time people tend to view their own family as role models, so their parents or their siblings or even just other family members. So it can also be a subconscious, you can say.
You might not even know it, but it's just as you go along, you just kind of adapt
you tend to
it.
develop it, yeah.
Yeah, but I think I have another question actually. When do you start to kind of be more influenced and start to have a role model?
As and when do you actually develop them?
Yeah.
See, so if I answer that, then I'd say I think it goes back to my point about things being more subconscious in that regard. So, to give an example, let's say with children, you know, when they first start to develop that type of role modeling and that type of bond with someone where they view them as a role model, who they start to look at and they want to focus on their behaviour and see how they can impact their own lives with it. It's definitely a subconscious thing, I'd say, that starts from very early. So in certain aspects you can say when children are around the age of 7+ months, they're in this process that's called the discriminate attachment phase, I believe. And in this, it's basically... You're right.
She's a nurse practitioner, so she kind of knows what she's on about.
We actually don't take children at that
I was going to say, Imaan, I don't think you take 7 months.
Like,
I don't know.
No.
But from around that age of 7+ months, that discriminate attachment phase is when children start to develop a specific attachment, a very strong bond with their primary caregiver, which in most cases tends to be the parents. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because when children are in that phase, they will be very distressed if that particular person they've developed that bond with or their parents leave them if they're on their own with people they don't know. However, the way the parent responds and interacts with strangers who they may have been uncomfortable with actually has a direct impact on how the child will respond, and it can influence the way that they will react. So to elaborate a little bit more on that, I think it's more the case of when the children at that age, they're able to kind of associate, particular emotions or the tone of one's voice, and they can pick up on the feeling or the type of vibe that's being portrayed. So if a child who would have usually been very cautious around other people, or even quite scared, if they see their primary caregiver, so their parent, reacting and responding to the stranger in a very warm or welcoming or friendly way, then they will pick up on those emotions and it will cause them to feel less wary, and then they may start to become more comfortable engaging with that stranger. So even a small instance like that does show how from a very early age we do subconsciously look to others and see how their behaviour may influence our own actions. So I would say we tend to develop that, obviously at a lesser scale, and it tends to increase more role models in terms of age and everything, but I'd say we develop it from quite young.
Yeah, no, I think of like, even like your initial role model, that kind of is your parents, and that might change when you're older and you may gain different influences, but that kind of initial perception will be established by whoever is your carer. But the thing is with that, sometimes you may have things installed kind of at a young age that won't go away. It's a bit like, well, let's say you're a computer, you know, you're being programmed that way. Obviously, I'm not saying that you can't get out of it, but it would be difficult. For example, let's say with racism, we're not all taught, you know, we don't have that with us when you're born, but sometimes it may be influenced by those around you or those above you, and that's how you're just taught. That's how you expect to look out.
Racism is a learned thing. It's not something that you naturally will.
So when you perceive things that way, it's harder later on to maybe drift away from it because that's all you've ever known.
Yeah, I think family does have a huge impact on you, and I think we do all, well, I know I do, look up to them as role models. Say in situations, in most situations, so say going through your exams, you'd look up to them and how they dealt with it to know and kind of get some inspiration on how you should deal with it in other situations like that.
I think another thing about role models is even from things like storybooks and stuff, because that's something you said upstairs when we were speaking.
Yeah, like
about.
say if a kid was reading a book and there was a soldier in there, I think they would kind of feel, oh yeah, I want to be like that when I'm older, and see when I'm older and see some like characteristics which they would want and how they would want to be like when they're older.
No, that's like storybooks. Especially in the nursery, we use storybooks a lot to kind of try and subconsciously instill certain morals or certain values in the children, because books are a really strong way of spreading that type of influence. Yeah, that type of influence onto a child, and it projects an idea or a certain standard that people will kind of, for children, they'll try and think, oh, this is really good behavior, maybe I should copy this, or want to copy certain book characters. So role models can definitely be something that's projected through storybooks as well.
I mean, I think for older children and teens, I think our role models are mostly to do with schools. Like, say, a teacher could be a role model depending on what they do, or say you look up to them, or friends at school. So I think because so much of our time is at school and we spend so much time there, most of our role models will be at school.
Yeah, well, I'm home educated, so my role models always tend to be, for me, it's actually always been my parents and siblings, I think, for my role models. So it's not always, obviously, going to be people from your school, but the majority of the time, I think it can be. But that goes on to a question I think Omema had.
Do I?
I told you the question we were sent in, you're supposed to have.
Sorry. How do role models affect a child's development?
See, I was
think
waiting
it was.
for this question because I really wanted to have some input in that one.
I was about to forget it. Thanks for reminding me.
So when we look at the core basis of a child's development, it has been shown that the things that children are exposed to from a very young age have a direct impact on things such as their personal, social, emotional, even just the general cognitive development. So I do think this stresses the importance of ensuring that children are surrounded by, will have a positive influence on them, because even if it may be something minor to us as adults or as young people, we can never be completely aware of how impactful it could be on a young child. So it's very important, I think, to be very careful of the people that children are surrounded by and the things they're exposed to, because it definitely has a large impact on children's development as a whole, I'd say.
That's true. I feel like when you're a kid especially, you kind of pick up on things, so other people may not see it as a big deal, but you're more observant kind of.
Yeah,
so.
I think children are more prone to very easily see something and start to mirror that type of behaviour.
See, that kind of flips onto the negative aspects of role models, because yes, there are positive aspects, and yes, you may, want to aspire to be better and have that kind of standard where you want to get to, but it's not always going to have that positive impact.
So what would be an example of a negative?
That's what I'm asking you. No, that's what I'm asking you.
You sorted that really well.
No, you can carry it on, thank you.
I'd rather talk about the positives. Or maybe what's the negative?
I think sometimes you may put too much pressure on that role model, so you may expect too much of them and then you kind of forget that they're still a person as well. So if they slip up or they make one mistake or they don't do the outcome of their decisions aren't what you expected, you may not think less of them, but you may not see them as kind of, as great as you thought they were. So
I think that goes along more with when you put too much value into a role model to the point where you think you start to really think you have to kind of copy everything they do, or you may see how they respond to a certain situation and think, okay, if something like that ever happens to me, I'll respond the same way. However, the outcome, as Omema said, can be different because everything varies on each individual and how you as a person would respond, as opposed to how you think you should respond due to someone else's behaviour. And I think when you don't get the desired outcome that you would have thought you could achieve, it can
stress you out, and because you're changing yourself to kind of be that person.
I think that actually goes back to which topic was it? Which episode was it? Where we were saying as long as there's a balance between when you look up to someone and what you take from them.
I'm not sure about the topic. I think it was when we were talking about influences in general.
Yeah, when you take certain traits on a person, as long as you keep that part of yourself which actually shows that you are you, that there's
your
a different
maintaining
basically.
That's definitely something that's very important to do. And I think another possible negative would be when people, again, going off what we said about putting too much value on the role model, I think it's when you start to project lots of personal values almost onto another person.
You kind of make your own role model out of that person.
That. And I think why would you say actually people tend to do that?
I don't know, I think it's because they just kind of feel that they want someone to look up to and that has all the same traits.
I was going to say they want the full package, they just want it all.
No, I think again with that, just adding on to what Imaan said, I think a lot of the time people can feel like, I think it tends to happen more when people feel maybe lost or have no sense of direction. They feel, okay, I need something to aspire towards, I need something to reach for, some sort of set goal. And lots of the time they find that in the sense of role models.
And kind of create.
You always do this when you have something you want to say.
No, I actually don't have anything to say. I was just...
Okay, but yeah, definitely when people tend to, they want that sense of direction and they want that kind of, they want something cemented for them to follow. You're doing it again.
I'm sorry.
She just sits there smiling.
I
hope the camera's catching her doing this. I'm not sure if it's directed on me, but she keeps smiling. It's completely throwing me off. I can't
carry on,
focus.
sorry. I won't look at you.
You know what? Let's move on to the next question. I can't finish this one. Imaan, what was the next question we had?
What was the next question? Oh, okay. The next question was, how do good role models contribute to the shaping of society?
I'm not answering that one first.
That's a big one. I think that, well, I don't know, I feel like it's dependent on the role model again, but if it is genuinely like a good role model, well, if other people are following along with that, then in general the community may have more positive people that actually care about things rather than just, do you know what I mean?
I
don't think you know what I mean.
I don't actually think that question's too hard to answer. I think it's very simple because role models as a whole is quite a universal understanding that we have of the word in general. Because, when you think of a role model, you don't associate negatives. You typically tend to associate, okay, someone who's, inspiring, motivational, very
confident,
yeah. All these attributes you already subconsciously or consciously associate to the word anyway. So when looking at how they can contribute to the shaping of society, again, it's pretty much straightforward. If you as a person, or if you as individuals are all being influenced by a positive source or a positive person that's having a good impact on your life, whether that be personal or professional, then as a whole it will help you develop more as a character, and it will kind of allow you to, what's the word I'm looking for? Allow you to, I can't find the word I'm looking for, I'll make a new one up. It will allow you to give back to the society. And
I don't think you made one up, but carry on.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I think, yeah. Omema, hand it back to you.
Okay, no, I do agree with that. I think when you generally, if you're striving to be better and if you've got that aspiration to be better, as a whole you will be better. And if there's more people looking up to people like that, then, do you know, literally what you just said, I can't phrase it in any other way,
exactly
Lina.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that obviously, because some role models, well, most role models for certain people are more confident and they do believe in what they say so strongly that they can get it across well and have good points. So I think they kind of get to, what's the word? Even I don't know what words to use
We've
now.
all lost our words today, unfortunately.
They can represent the community better and kind of, represent what the community think.
Actually, I think there's been a lot of mention of, communities and representing and being very vocal. Would you say all role models have to do that though? Because
No.
do we always have to have people? Do we have to see people in a position where they're always, speaking about change, etc., to view them as, oh, hey, that's my role model now. Great.
I mean, I think it depends on the person and who they think what they want in a role model. Because some people prefer a kind of confident, more confident person, and some people prefer the kind of not quieter ones, but the more reserved ones. So I think it's kind of based on what you think.
No, I think you can still admire people just because they're not maybe as outspoken as others.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you may not look up to them in the kind of same way. So I don't think that it's just kind of submissive to kind of if you're really loud and if you're... Lina, did you leave your ringtone on?
My phone's here and it's silent. I will not.
It's probably
be
mine,
framed.
actually.
I refuse to be framed this time.
Okay,
No.
sorry, it's Simone,
That's
okay.
probably Omema's phone.
Mine's there, okay. Thank you, don't blame me. It's under the thing.
It's not there.
Anyways,
Keep
you...
lying, it's not there.
It's, no, it is, I can see it. Anyways, going back to it, I forgot what I'm saying now. 'Cause you
Going back to
distracted
it.
me.
No, actually, I wanted to ask, like honestly, if I were to say now, who do you view as a role model? Tell me who and give an example of why.
Maybe I'll let you go first.
No, she asked you, I'll go after.
No, actually think about it. Who do you view as a role model genuinely, and why? What's something that made you think, okay, you know what, this is something I want to aspire towards, or this is something I should try and implement into my own life?
I mean, not going to lie, I think it's just someone who's successful and actually knows what they're doing.
But who's that person? Is it me? Is it me? Is it me? Is that what you're trying
No,
to say?
it's definitely not you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I think. I mean,
Okay, so she has no answer. Moving on.
I mean, I haven't got like one distinct one. Like I haven't got a poster in my room of them or anything. But I think there's two people actually that I kind of look up to. One of my friends, I feel like she knows what she wants and she's quite strong-willed. No, it's not you, sorry. She's quite strong-willed to get there, even though she gets put down a lot for it. So I think that's quite admirable about her. But as much as I don't want to admit this, oh my God. But yeah, it's my sister. She's probably watching this now. As much as she annoys me, I think it's quite like the kind of
She sounds like a paid actor. Actress.
the effort that she's kind of put in to
wait,
get what
where's
she...
your sister?
I don't know, somewhere at home.
At home.
Your sister's at home.
I'm sure she
Not
went
the
to
younger
uni.
one, the older one.
I'm sure she's not.
Where is she going to be now?
I'm sure she's like 5 hours away.
Well,
in
at
Plymouth.
her new home, but but yeah, I think that's quite like...
I think you should clarify that.
Yeah,
What?
just show that where she is.
Show what? Oh, she's at uni now. She's away. I'm sorry.
She's studying to be a what?
What's the point of that? She wants to be a doctor. Okay, yeah. No, I think that like it's just as much as she doesn't help me, and I called her earlier for advice, and she never answers the phone on me anymore. But it's kind of like, you know.
Maybe
But
was
she
telling
has-
me today she has time frames when she can phone her.
Yeah, I actually do. Because she had to go at me last time because I called her while she was in a class. Sorry.
I called him really late, I think a couple of days ago. She answers straight.
Yeah, she'll answer at like 11 o'clock, but she won't answer early in the day. I don't have time for 11 o'clock. But, yeah, I got off the point now. But, yeah,
She's
you
your
can
role
have
model.
it.
I'm sure when she
No,
listens
she's
to
not
this,
my
she'll
role
be-
model, but, like, it's just
Maybe
admirable.
just say she's your role model.
Yeah, I've got a
Admit
poster of
it.
you in my room. Okay, carry on. Who's your role model, you know?
I said my role model.
Oh, my mum as well, because I know my mum's watching this, so yeah. You
Wow,
too,
is that
Mum.
the university?
No, my role models, again, I've already said that earlier actually, but my role models,
Me.
one of our behind the set teams pointing saying, say me, I'm not saying you, no, you didn't pay me yet. My actual role model,
She's trying to say it's me, but she's trying to be very she doesn't want me to get too
As I said
braggy
before,
about
my
it.
genuine role models will always be my parents and then my siblings, like my older siblings, I'd say.
And then me and Amina.
Yeah,
Anyway.
my younger ones have a couple more steps to go still before they become my role models. In the meantime, I'll stick with my parents and my older siblings. No.
I need some credit. Okay, anyways, let's go on to the next topic. So, I think, what section, whatever we're talking about, let's move on.
Go on, move on, Amina.
No, you go on.
Imaan, open up the next section, thank you. I think the other question we had was, how can you, because I think it's leading on from one of the other shows we did where we spoke about establishing the difference between taking someone's actions as, sort of a guideline, but then entirely taking their entire persona. So this question was, if we're going to speak about role models, can you emphasize a bit more on what you mean by how we're supposed to establish that difference and, kind of maintain a balance between the two?
I mean, I do think that it is arguable to have that role model in your life, and I think it is important to have that kind of will to aspire to be better and kind of a figure which guides you there. But I think it's also the factor of how much of a role model actually is that person. Are they actually a role model, or is it just someone around you?
Yeah, well, then
Just someone.
You tick the qualities.
No, is it are their qualities genuinely going to better you, or are they going to kind of make... Do you know what I
Sorry
mean?
to cut you off. I think something I want to add there is, in that sense, someone may have, rather than that, just because someone may have a couple of qualities that you think, this is really admirable, it's important to not base, someone and kind of put them on that platform where you say, you know what, this is my role model, I want to try and learn from everything they do just based on a few qualities, because I think it's important to say individual qualities don't define a person as a whole. So whilst it's perfectly fine to view those qualities and think, that's something that's really good, or I really like that, let's try and learn from it, don't automatically place too much value on the person as a whole, because I think that's where it comes into...
They aren't just them couple of characteristics, they are still a person.
We did mention it in the other show, but I think we should mention it again. I think as long as you have that balance and you have that, obviously you can take the parts of those, part of them and the characteristics of those that you think are positive and you like the overall outcome. Yeah, and you still have that part of yourself, the overall outcome will be positive because you're kind of having that balance still.
No, I think sometimes you do forget that them characteristics might spread out thinner than you actually believe, and I don't think that it's wrong to have a role model and that it's negative, but it is quite... The guidance can overpower you quite a lot, so I think you have to be very careful about who your role model is, and are they going to provide that kind of betterment, or are they going to kind of have that negative impact? And I think sometimes I think it's actually quite impressive when you don't have a role model and that you kind of are your own role model, because then you're going off your own terms and you're setting yourself to be what you want rather than what you see in other people and then wanting that.
I think just... not to disagree per se, but I think, again, with that, it goes on to why you have the difference between general influence and a role model. Because I actually do think that everyone, at some point in their life, will find themselves looking at someone and thinking of taking them as a role model. Not in the sense of, right, let's write that down on my list now, you are my role model at X date of whatever time. Not like that, but just subconsciously even, or consciously, there will be at some point in everyone's life where you might see someone do something and think, hey, that's a great thing to do, let me try and do that myself.
I think it's just a part of growing up, and it does help you grow up and try new things and just kind of be a better person.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I do think overall, on the whole, it is important to remember that generally speaking, I do think role models have a very positive effect on people, so long as it's, you've got the right type of role models and you're looking for the right type of behaviour. And, if you can clearly try and establish why you view someone as a role model, or why you may be more prone to being more influenced by a particular person, and you can ensure that it's for positive reasons, then I think you'll be able to boost kind of your overall character in a sense and ensure you're not getting negatively influenced by anything. So,
No, I think it's kind of it's good to remember that generally speaking, role models are meant to have kind of aspects which encourage you, and that especially with younger people as well, that's when you're more vulnerable to kind of be encouraged by people. And sometimes you may go for the wrong role models, even though you may know it's wrong, but it's just that's
Something,
what's there, so you might as well take it. So don't always kind of jump to conclusions and go a step too far just because why not? Like, actually consider it in the end of the day.
I mean,
sorry.
go on. I mean, overall, I think that as long as you do have that balance, role models as a whole do have a positive outcome on yourself. So, Lina, do you want to summarise the show today?
Summarise the show? No, before that, I did want to add something, and I wanted to say, stressing again, since we are talking about role models, I don't feel like I'm bragging too much in this aspect, but personally, for me, a lot of the time when, I'll be working or I'll come home from work and then start trying to study and get my head down and stuff, and a lot of the time it does get hard, and it gets difficult to try and, mentally tell yourself, okay, let's keep going forward, let's open the next book, read the next page, type the next essay, whatever it may be. And a lot of the time, had I not have had that particular person as a role model, had I not have had, in most aspects, had I not have had my mother and seen, her work ethic, then I wouldn't have had that particular standard that I feel like I need to reach. Because for me, a lot of the time, I'll think, okay, actually, if my mother can do this, then I can do it too. And I'm really grateful for that, because it's my way of pushing myself, and I'll think, right, no, even if you're tired, give yourself a break and then kind of get your energy back and then go again, because if the people around you can do it, so can you. And for me, obviously if that's done in an unhealthy way, then it's negative, but for me, I'd like to think I do it quite healthily, and it has helped
Well, I
me.
do that too. I say if they could do it.
Pull yourself together, get your socks up. Is that the phrase? Is it pull your socks up? Right. Pull your socks up and get on with it, really. So I just wanted to.
That was
Oh,
inspirational.
I know.
I've been told I have
Now
a
you're
poet
making me feel a bit
title.
regretful for
I
earlier.
should be I am a poet, actually. I'm really a poet. But what's the wrong one? What's the time? Right, we're closing now. I think that brings this show to an end. And again, as always, thank you very much for watching. And we hope you'll tune in next Wednesday also.
And please send in some suggestions, because now Imaan's going to procrastinate about what we're doing next week. So.
Yeah, if you have any topics that you'd like us to cover, or even things you'd just like to discuss with us, do let us know through our Instagram page and via DMs. I feel so cool saying that. Messages. I don't know the terms. Something about DMs, but feel free to message us through them.
Yeah, let's just conclude there. Thank you for
I
watching.
think that's it. Thank you for watching, and tune in next Wednesday at 7:30.